83% of financial advisors are about to charge less. Here's why the other 17% will charge more. Cerulli Associates, one of the most respected research firms in wealth management, found that the vast majority of advisors expect their fees to drop below 1% for high net worth clients by the end of this year. Fee compression isn't coming, it's here. And yet there's a small group doing the exact opposite. Their fees are going up. Their clients aren't price shopping. They're not even comparing. Now, a separate study, this one from Gartner, published just this month, tells you exactly why that split is happening. They surveyed nearly 650 buyers. 67% said they prefer to make decisions without ever talking to a human advisor. That number was 61% a few months ago. It's accelerating. But buried in that data is a single condition that reverses the entire trend. The 17% who are charging more. They've already figured it out. In this video, I'm going to show you what that condition is and why it changes everything about how you should be positioning yourself right now. Let me give you the full picture. Vanguard now runs the largest Robo advisor platform on the planet. Over $311 billion in assets under management. Their fee? 15 basis points. That's 0.15% per year. For the same portfolio work most advisors charge 1% to do. So on one side, you have a machine doing portfolio work for almost nothing. And on the other side, you have 300,000 human advisors watching their pricing power shrink. That's the surface story. But here's the part nobody's talking about. Vanguard published a separate study, surveyed over 12,000 of their own investors, and found that 86% of advised clients said the number one benefit of working with an advisor isn't investment returns. It's peace of mind, not performance, not strategy, the feeling of being known and trusted by someone who understands their situation. Vanguard just proved that the thing clients actually pay for is the one thing their own algorithm can't deliver. So here's what this means for your practice. Whether you're a financial advisor, a consultant, a coach, or a speaker, that 67% who don't want your advice, they're not rejecting expertise. They're rejecting the part of your work that a computer now handles for a fraction of the cost. The rebalancing, the tax optimization, the portfolio construction, the basic planning. When your value proposition sounds like a list of tasks, you're competing with software, and software is getting cheaper every quarter. If you're in a regulated field, financial advisory, for example, this gets even more personal. Your clients can now pull up an AI-generated financial plan on their phone in 20 minutes for free. They're not questioning your intelligence, they're questioning your price. I want to tell you about someone who found out exactly how this plays out. A fee-only advisor in the Midwest I'll call Shawns. 11 years in practice, good book of business, happy clients. Then about 18 months ago, his close rate on discovery calls started dropping. He couldn't figure out why. Same pitch, same expertise, same outcomes. Something had just shifted underneath him. Keep that in mind. Here's a framework I call the two-layer test, and it explains everything that's happening right now. Every expertise-based business has two layers of value. Layer one is the processing layer. This is the work itself, the tasks, the analysis, the execution. For a financial advisor, it's portfolio construction, rebalancing, tax loss harvesting. For a consultant, it's the deliverable. For a coach, it's the session framework. Layer one is what you do. Layer two is the authority layer. This is the reason a client chose you before they ever compared your fees. It's your reputation, your name recognition, your published thinking. The fact that when someone in your niche has a problem, your name comes up before they start searching. Layer two is who you are. Now, here's the test. If a client can describe your value using verbs, he manages my money, she runs my strategy sessions, they build my plan, you're selling layer one. And layer one is exactly what Vanguard automates for 15 basis points. But if a client describes you using nouns, he's the advisor for dentists in the Midwest, she wrote the book on executive transitions, they created the framework everyone in our industry uses, that's layer two. And no algorithm touches layer two. Shawns' entire practice was built on layer one. Every proposal he sent was a list of services. Every discovery call was an explanation of process. And that's the part a 20-minute AI demo now replicates for free. So the question every advisor, consultant, and coach needs to answer right now is this. When your best client describes you to a friend, are they using verbs or nouns? Now, here's the simplest way to think about this. A computer can now do the math part of your job for almost nothing. So what's left is the part where someone actually has to trust you. That's the part you should be getting paid for. And that changes everything about how you should be positioning yourself right now. So what happened to Shawns? One afternoon, a prospect sat across from him, pulled out his phone, and showed him a retirement income plan. My nephew built this for me using one of those AI tools, the guy said. Took him about 20 minutes. It looks pretty much like what you've just walked me through. Shawns told me that was the moment it clicked. He wasn't losing on competence, he was losing on positioning. His prospect could now see the layer one work done for free, and it looked identical to what he was charging 1% for. So Shawn made a decision. He stopped selling portfolio management and started building authority in a specific niche, retirement income planning for independent medical professionals. He published a short book outlining his methodology. He named his process. He stopped competing on what he does and started being known for who he is. Within a year, his average engagement fee went up, not down, because the clients finding him now weren't comparing his price to Vanguard. They were choosing him before the fee conversation even started. Same work, same expertise, different evidence that he was the one to trust. Here's what I've seen over and over with the advisors and consultants who are thriving right now. They all have one thing in common. They've built something tangible that does the trust building for them when they're not in the room. Research from the academic world backs this up. Studies show that investors willingly pay higher fees and take more risks with advisors they trust. Trust isn't a soft skill, it's a pricing mechanism. The advisors charging premium fees aren't better at math than Vanguard, they're better at being known. They have something a client can find, read, and say, "This is my person," before the first meeting ever happens. That's the unless from the title. 67% of clients don't want your advice unless they already trust you before you walk in the room. And the ones who build that trust in advance don't compete on fees, they set them. The question most people have at this point is, okay, I get it. Layer 2 is what matters, but how do I actually build it? How do I take a decade of expertise and turn it into something a prospect can find, evaluate, and then decide on before we ever get on a call? Because here's what I've learned. The advisors and consultants who figure this out don't just survive the shift, they come out of it with a stronger practice, better clients, and more pricing power than they've ever had. That's exactly what I walk through in the next video. It covers the extraction process we use to take what you already know, the methodology you use every day, and build a book around it in 90 days, without writing from scratch, without staring at a blank page. It also explains why we back the whole thing with an ROI guarantee, because what this does for your practice is real. If your fee is built on layer 1 work right now, that video is the one you need. Watch it next.